And I didn't have the words really to explain like what you feel watching this production. You see that in front of you and what Jesus did.
I can relate and see this is my story. Maybe it's different things that she went through, but it all brought like destruction, it all brought pain.
It's not only God saved you from all this, but what he's bringing you into.
And just so grateful that that was me, but my story is now different.
Yeah. Patsy did all these things, but she lived her truth.
Yeah.
And then how Satan uses that and says, because it was right for you. You did all this. It was okay.
She realizes she's at her end.
Yeah.
Because I think all mankind thinks, well, if God's good, I can kind of just escape this judgment. Only you can save these people. He didn't have to.
He didn't have to.
He did not have to do this.
Right.
The only way that he could get back at God is to take the one thing that God loved the most.
Yeah. Not just wanted to prove that they're guilty, which is what Satan ultimately wanted to do. The devil will tell you whatever you need to hear to destroy you.
The power of visualization, you know, to actually like see something.
He said yes to taking on the full torment that was meant for mankind.
He became the ultimate sacrifice. He's the one who took that place to take on all that 100%. Condemnation.
We want people to realize what this cost Jesus.
It's just really powerful.
Hey guys, welcome to this breakdown of the verdict. We have here...
I'm Chris. I play Jesus, and I'm co-directing along with Samuel.
Yes.
And I'm Sarah, and I'm producer of The Verdict.
Okay, Chris, you got a great opening question, right?
Yes. So Sarah, developing this production, like how did you come up with the story or the idea and the framework behind this?
Well, it was our creative team. We all came together, and one of our members actually had the idea of doing a courtroom where we see Jesus basically taking on the judgment that was meant for each of us. And that's kind of the idea that we started to play around with. And then when we took it to the writers, they had just seen Pastor Susan do a sermon about being on trial. And so they saw that play out and what that looked like. So that was kind of, I think, their inspiration because they had seen it. But it was definitely a collaborative thing with the creative team coming together and really just trying to portray what it really looked like for Jesus to take upon a judgment that was meant for us.
That's awesome, Sarah. So with that, you found a song that can kind of tell that story. How did you bring that song into the script and make it the basis for that courtroom scene?
Yes, so it's a song called Not Guilty. And so when we were, thinking about the drama, this is a song that just came up that I just heard. I never heard the song before. So I really think the Holy Spirit is on this drama because I had never heard that song before. But then when I heard it, it really stuck out to me and it really penetrated my heart. And I thought this is exactly the way that the lyrics of this story is exactly what we're trying to portray for the drama. And I saw that in it, I brought it to the team and, they loved it too. And I really feel like incorporating it in, it's a beautiful illustration because the main characters, they're singing it. And, they're singing, like Jesus is singing it and the main girl, Patricia, is also singing it, and they're singing it together. So the way that it's, it's just a beautiful addition to the drama, and I think it's going to be very impactful when people see it.
That's amazing, and it's going to be an amazing production. And the song is so powerful. It touches me even just listening to it when we were getting ready to actually start the production. So along with that, we had our writers. We had Josh, Yahira, Patricia, or Patsy herself. And as they began to write it, how did they begin to bring in Patsy as her story being kind of the basis and the structure to represent all of humanity?
Yes, when we brought the concept to pastors and we were talking about our idea, it was from them where they thought it would be a good idea to focus on one of our actual members and her story and what she had gone through, and of course her being able to sing through the song as well. So because we know her story, we thought it would be powerful to have her be the one to tell the story, and it could be relatable to the congregation, the people who are seeing it too, because the things she's gone through, I'm sure she's not the only one who's actually dealt with things like that. So it's to see a live testimony within the drama of what God did for her, what Jesus did for her, we thought would be a really powerful element to the story to make it connect a little bit more.
Yeah, no, she has an amazing testimony,
Yeah.
and when you'll just see like there's a broad spectrum of things in her testimony that applies to every person of humanity.
Yeah.
And then we pass it off to the writers, and then from the writers, they actually pass it on to us.
Yeah.
Me and Samuel, and so I'll let Samuel say, like, once you got that, what really helped once you looked at it, what did you feel, and then saw, like, to really kind of develop that script and really bring the intensity behind it?
Yeah, good question. I think we'll first explain what does a director do, co-directing. I think we have to feel the story the most. I think everybody has to feel the story, but for a director, you have to understand it in a spiritual way, in a way that you first of all connected with it. So when we first got the script, it was good. And I think it was very accurate to her story, but of course when we're doing a theatrical production, we want to kind of add in further depth to each character. So not just Patsy representing herself and her testimony, but how could we make this relatable to all of humanity? So what we did is kind of putting more into the story, enhancing it, making Patsy really feel like she was representing humanity. And then when we started to talk about Satan and his character, there's always the question that comes up, if God was good, why would he let anybody go to hell?
Yeah.
And so this was something that we kept thinking about. I think even as we were further developing the story, this kind of came up for me. God never wants to send anybody to hell.
Yeah.
That's not his heart, but he is a judge, and he has to uphold the word, the law, of what is good and what is evil, right?
Right.
And divide. That's, he's called to good things, and everything outside of that, he has to judge as outside of that. Who is really sending you to hell is Satan.
Yeah.
And I think we had a realization of that really it's him working against humanity here.
Right.
So you see in the production, I'll pass it on to you here, what do you kind of start to see with Satan as a character going against humanity, which is who Patricia's representing?
Yeah. Like Samuel said, we took this story and it was a great story, but we wanted to take a little bit more creative liberties.
Yeah.
Right? And really show how sinister Satan is, how sinister sin is,
Yeah.
and how we can be so deceived
Yes.
that we are judged and we are being sent to hell. Not because God wants us in there, but because of what Satan has done to really deceive us and convince us of this idea that we're living for ourselves and we don't need God.
Yeah.
And how we try to come and we are going to defend ourselves, and we have this idea like we haven't done anything wrong. We're living this truth. We may be somewhat spiritual at times, and then we realize that all falls apart.
Right.
In front of God, in front of his laws, and in front of his principles, and really trying to bring that into the courtroom scene, using Satan to really show how sinister he is, and then how he can play and really kind of be this guy who's your friend, and then really turn on you and take you to a place where you realize
exposed.
you're completely exposed, completely laid bare, and you see that in the production, and then you see the heart of God, right? In it.
I think what we can talk about also when we were developing the story arc. So what is a story arc? It's when you're watching a production, it's the journey that the characters are going through. There's ups, there's downs, there's certain beliefs, and then those beliefs get destroyed, and then other things come about. So when the script was given to us, what we wanted to further develop is the story arc. So maybe we can talk a little bit about that, of like how we did that, and then the moments that we've brought the character through.
Yeah, the story arc, trying to find that story arc was really an amazing night.
It was.
We just sat down there, and you could just really see, like Sarah was saying, you really see the power of the Holy Spirit on the production, and really trying to find that arc that really touches the points of humanity, touching God's heart, touching what Satan's intentions are, and then the heart of the person who God wants to bring redemption to, and then Jesus stepping in and bringing and being that redemption for that person, and finding how all those intertwine, take us on this journey, on this ride, and this emotional roller coaster, and then end out with this place where it's like, wow, this is what God did for me. This is, if he could save a person like Patsy, who did all these things and what Satan brought against her, how much more could he save me and all of humanity?
Yeah, I think that revelation there of who was working against her, right? And then how he was working against her.
Right.
So we started to think about if someone who not just wanted to prove that they're guilty, which is what Satan ultimately wanted to do, he wanted to have fun with it. Because when you understand the dynamic of God the Father, who loves people, who loves people as his children, right? We're called his sons and daughters.
Yes.
And then Satan, whose ultimate goal is to destroy this relationship, right?
Yeah.
So in this courtroom scene, you're actually seeing that Satan is enjoying this whole thing.
The whole thing, yeah.
The whole thing. And so what he tries to do is to bring Patsy into a false sense of belief she's going to win the case.
Right.
So how he does that initially, of course, is to bring out the accusations. But then what happens in the story arc, he begins to... I don't know if the word is dissuade or persuade Patsy that she is actually not guilty of these cases.
Right. He comes at her like as far as like siding with her and
Yeah.
making her see like it was okay for this, and I see your point.
Yes.
Right, and that he becomes her friend, but he's really not.
Yeah. What was the line? It was like
You did these things because you had to, right?
Yes, that was it. There you
I
go.
would do the same thing.
I would do the same thing. So you see here that his whole case is this attack against God, really, as the Father, as the one who put Satan to
Right.
shame, who told him that you cannot remain in heaven. He's telling Patsy, oh, I did these things too.
Yeah.
Like, we shouldn't really be put to shame. We shouldn't
Right.
really have this sort of stuff. And so you see there's this, like, the thing that we wanted to put in Satan's character
Yeah.
is almost relatability.
Right.
That people feel an unusual connection to him is that he seems like this nicer guy in the beginning. He seems like actually there's logic to what he's saying.
Right.
But there's no truth to what he's saying.
Yeah.
So then when he flips the script on Patsy and he starts to come against her with the law, it's now to prove that she not only is guilty, but it's actually to hurt God the Father.
Right. Exactly.
So you see this huge flip, and when you're watching it, it's very, it's not throwing, but it's very moving. Sarah, maybe how do you feel when you've been in all the rehearsals and everything? How is it just seeing that dynamic?
Right. So every single rehearsal that we come into, I've seen it multiple times. I've heard the story, I've read the script multiple times, but I get emotional every time just watching the story play out. And there's something that happens when it's live too. You can feel, because they're, doing, even though they've been doing the lines over and over again, there's still like there's such a tangible presence that when they're going through it and you see like Jesus come out and you see and hear Patsy's story every time I get emotional just listening to it and watching it, and just so grateful that was me, but my story is now different because of Jesus. So it's impactful.
Well, it's a big thing to go from idea to paper, and then to see it like actually be done on stage in a way that you can actually see that idea.
Yeah.
So what did it feel like to you? Like, you're like, okay, I had this idea, then I read the script, but then when I, again, like seeing it live, like how that impacted just from like the concept.
Yeah, just the concept, because you read the Bible and you know about the story and you know about the judgment that was meant for us and what Jesus did. But there's just something when you see it come alive, when it just is right there in front of you and you're seeing an actual person, because you can relate and say, this is my story. Maybe it's different things that she went through, but it all brought like destruction. It all brought pain, so being able to see an actual person, and I feel every time like that, people are going to relate to Patsy's character in the story. So
I think what's amazing, what Samuel was saying, is you really see how, even though Patsy is the main character, but it really kind of revolves around Satan.
Yeah.
Because he feels like he should have had something that he wasn't created for, really.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so the only way that he could get back at God is to take the one thing that God loved the most.
Yeah, that was it.
And you see how all of heaven fights for the soul of man, and all of hell fights for the soul of man.
Yeah. Actually, let me add on to that. I was watching Narnia
Yes.
again recently. I love that film. But the witch says something, and it really stuck with me. It was like, Aslan knows, which was the person really representing Jesus, that all that have sinned, I have a claim on their blood. And she says, it's my right, because of their blood, for them to be given to me. So for me, like, that's the core underline of all of this. It's the right to your life. You know what I mean? And so I think God is fighting. God has to obey the law of this. Everyone that sins belongs to the enemy, to Satan, and goes where he goes. And everybody that is on the side of light, on the side of good, belongs to God. So I think that that's the pull that Satan has. That's the only power he has, is to pull what the law says. But I think, I mean, you portraying Jesus, the realization of what he really said yes to.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, he said yes to taking on the full torment that was meant for mankind. The everything Satan wanted to do to destroy mankind, and then Jesus coming on, taking that place, giving mankind a way out. Maybe you want to answer that a little bit and just talk into that.
Yeah.
Especially as we're developing that character. How did we... Because, of course, we don't want this whole thing to be about Satan. We want it to reveal who he is and have people's eyes open. But then we want people to realize what this cost Jesus.
Right.
You know what I mean? How difficult this was.
Right.
And how revengeful Satan took this.
Yeah. I think what's amazing to see in coming into the character of Jesus is that Jesus is never condemning of the person. Like, his heart's always out, and how can he come in and bring that person back into relationship with him?
Yeah.
Right? Even when in that moment, like, even God the Father, watching God the Father and saying, like, I know I've made a way for you.
Yeah.
But in those moments, Patsy doesn't realize, because she's trying to state that.
Yeah.
She's trying to protect herself. She's trying to defend
Yeah.
herself. Not really realizing that she has someone who's come to defend her, come to take her place. And to really be able to portray that love, portray that compassion, portray that heart when Patsy calls out for Jesus.
Yeah.
And really, the thing for me is really working, like, how do you respond? How would Jesus respond to each and every person through that?
Yeah.
Right? In his heart, and saying, I'm here. I'm here to protect you. You don't have to worry about this anymore.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm here for you. All that's been brought against you, I'm taking this.
Yeah.
And the weight of that, it's amazing.
I think that there's a moment, and we'll talk to Patsy later.
Yeah.
There's a moment with the character where she realizes she's at her end.
Yeah.
Because I think all mankind thinks, well, if God's good, I can kind of just escape this judgment.
Yeah.
I can kind of just weasel my way out of it.
Right.
You know. But there's a moment when Patricia realizes, this character realizes, there's no getting out of this.
Yeah.
You have, the claim is on her blood, and the claim is for her life. And then as she's being dragged to hell, as she's being dragged by Satan, and at that moment where she calls for Jesus, and now he's in that place instead of her, I think was so powerful. Even, I mean, yes, I'm playing Satan, but I was crying watching Jesus, because we talk about Jesus, we read the Bible, but when you see that in front of you, and what Jesus did, like, he was so willing to go to hell for us. I mean, few people would do that. You know what I mean? Take on that way. I mean, do you have anything to add on there, Sarah?
Yeah, I think it's just the power of visualization, you know, to actually like see something, you know. For me, I know I'm a visual person and I can read the Bible and, you know, but I ask God to like show me exactly what he's trying to tell me, you know, but to be able to see what Jesus did for us in, you know, right, in live form is just really powerful. And I really feel that people, when they see it, no matter where you are, no matter what background, whether you've been a Christian for a long time or whether you've been against him, against Jesus, they're going to be impacted.
Yeah.
You know, and I really feel like the fear of the Lord's going to come upon the people there.
Yeah. I think that's the thing. We were trying to explain, and I didn't have the words really to explain like what you feel watching this production until we were in a meeting with Pastor sometime. And he'd seen different takes of it, and he's like, he gave me the words for it. It's the fear of the Lord. You know, it's the fear of God.
Fear of the Lord,
because you realize where you were going.
Right.
And you were going there at quite a pace without Jesus.
Right.
And who was going after you? You know, like that's the thing. Like flirt, well, you know, the Bible, it would like to flirt with sin, you know, just, oh, it feels good for a moment. But when you realize who is going after you and using this to tempt you, to grab you. Like, that's the thing that, like, for me, like, I walk away with, like, a genuine fear of God. I'm like, God, I don't want to be anywhere near this person. Anywhere, you know, thank God God saved me, saved all of us, because this is a very real person who is actively working against you to destroy you. And like, to me, but then that such death and darkness, how brightly Jesus' light shines. And I think you'll walk away with a gratitude. I mean, I don't know how you feel. I'm very grateful.
Very grateful.
You just, you know.
Well, I know even like during the practices, like Patsy, even some of the others looking at, like when you see how Satan comes against her, like just as a person and the person playing, you're like, I just hate that person. You know, and because you see how again, sinister he really is.
Conniving.
And then how he's so deceptive. And one of the things that we put into the script is, you know, Patsy did all these things, but she lived her truth. And then how Satan uses that and says, because it was right for you. You did all this. It was okay. And it's like, my truth. And then, but your truth doesn't work here. It doesn't stand here. There's only one truth. Right? And you just see how he manipulated it and deceived her, and then how to be judged by God's laws. You know, and then but how he wanted to use what God had set to destroy mankind, and then how God made that redemption so that what he did set into place, he became the ultimate sacrifice. He's the one who took that place to take on all that 100%. Condemnation.
I think that's the thing, like I realized, like the devil will tell you whatever you need to hear to destroy you. Like that was the thing, like I realized, like you can have your truth, you can do your way, you can do this, it doesn't matter. You can have, like you're seeing that with this character, oh, you should have done that, you did that for a good reason, didn't you? And it's like, and a million excuses just to live your life the way you want, to break every law, to break everything that God designed, and he doesn't care. It's not about you enjoying this thing. It's about him using this to leverage it against you, because those that choose to be on his side of things, he has a claim to. So like that's the thing. Like I realized, I'm like, the devil will tell you whatever you need to hear. In order to get you to do something that God hasn't said that you should do. You know, and thank God for Jesus, who, out of grace and mercy, was willing. There's a moment we'll talk to God the Father. The character playing him, but there's a moment there when they have a real moment of like, now's your time. Only you can do this for them. Only you can save these people. You know, and if you don't, they won't be. You know, and Jesus had a total choice. He didn't have to.
He didn't have to.
He did not have to do this. You know, by law, it was meant for us. You know, the claim. But because of his love, you know.
And I think it's like, you know, we talked about this a while back, and what you really see is not what you were saved from, but what you were brought into. You know, and I think that's the amazing thing about this production is it's not only God saved you from all this, but what he's bringing you into. Any last words, Sarah?
I feel that God's hand is definitely on this drama, and his touch is there, and everybody who comes in this building and experiences it, whether in person or whether even online, is going to leave impacted. I strongly believe that people are their hearts are going to be transformed, people's hearts are going to be turned towards God, and that's the ultimate goal, is that people come into contact with Jesus and develop that relationship with the Father. And it's our responsibility to go out and share, to tell people. So, you know, you come yourself and bring people. You're not going to want to miss it.
We want to invite you guys, if you've been enjoying all of the stuff that we've been putting out, this is just the tip of the iceberg. It's just the end of the needle of all the marketing, all the stuff that we've been putting out. It's such a tiny portion. The story behind this, I think, is life transforming.
You
know, so don't just bring yourself, bring other people. There are those in your life that need to be impacted by this message. There are those that need to hear the truth. There are those that need to realize who they've been saved from. So I want to encourage you guys, from all of us and the behalf of the whole team, please come out, bring people. If you can't be physically here in person, watch online. There'll be 3 showtimes. So don't miss it, guys.
Don't miss it. It's going to be Easter Sunday. Great production. 9 o'clock, 10:30, 12 p.m. You can watch it in person here at a live church or watch us stream it online on YouTube.